I want to talk about financial freedom. Because it's been on my mind recently in a very different way. Usually when I thought about financial freedom early on, when I heard of the term, was just thoughts in my own head of what that means, what would that look like, etc. And then recently I started talking to people about it. And no matter who I talk to, I get a different answer. And it's just expanding my mind and also setting limitations on what I think about the whole topic. So I want to talk to you. What do you think about when you think of, if you do think about financial freedom? What does that mean to you? Does that mean something in terms of numbers, in years? What does financial freedom mean to you? What the hell is it?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I wonder, what's the best answer you've gotten so far?
I've got such a variety of answers. There's a guy, so my initial answer at some point was like, I need a runway of at least 5 to 10 years of living a life in Dubai at my current standards. And that's good enough for me. If I know I have 5 years, that gives me the freedom to stop what I'm doing today and screw around for like 5 years until I figure something out. I have enough to go by. And this is cost of living in Dubai. So that means in South Africa, that money can go 15 years. In Pakistan, that can go for like 20 years. So I set that benchmark. That's my financial freedom. Then I met a guy who said, no, I want an infinity runaway. So I want X amount of dollars, and then that compounds at 8% every year so that I will never, ever, like, he needs infinity runway. And then I met another guy who's like, hey, I'm setting up for the next generation. So by the time I'm 40, I'm 36 now, so he's the same age as me. In 4 years, he wants enough for the next generation to have schooling and education and like business. And so he's thinking that far. So it's such a wide variety.
I always bring a lot back to happiness. So financial freedom for me, I think, is, first of all, realizing that you can't have everything in the world, but there are certain things that make me happy, that make my husband happy, that make my kids happy. And I want to be able to do those things in abundance. For example, we love to travel, right? And I don't want to have to think about, can we afford this trip or not afford this trip? If we go here, does it mean we can't go somewhere else? So that financial freedom to be able to do those things that we love is so hugely important to me. And to think about that not just, I think, in a 5-year time frame, because I've run my company for 8 years now. It goes quick, right? You think 5-10 years, oh, that's a good runway, but time passes so fast. So at least I would think for our lifetime to be able to do those things that we love. But I think a part of it is also just then knowing that there are things that you are okay to say no to and comfortable to say no to. And you're not, like, for example, cars isn't something that makes me, like, gets me excited. I know a lot of other people are into cars, right? Yeah. So I don't need that to be part of my idea of financial freedom, to have the best car.
Yeah.
And there's a happiness in knowing what matters, and it doesn't matter to you, and it'll be different for everyone.
To me, financial freedom, honestly, is the removal of thought of worrying about money. But to be honest, you can always worry about money, no matter what you do, no matter how rich you are. Do you like?
It's like a moving goalpost.
Yeah. Do you think
right?
Bezos feels happy when he loses like billions of dollars on a stock market change? No, of course not. He worries about it, dude. Like, come on. So you always be kind of worried. But yeah, leaving your day to day out is the general base financial freedom that you can probably get.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money is important, and I'm in the business of money, and I'm financially responsible for the money that I manage. And money is important because it gets you to financial freedom. So my idea with just like going about finances is, let's look at it backwards and how much money you're going to spend. When you're in when you post your 70s, 60s, you're going to spend less money. When you're in your 20s, again, your chart is just going up. When you're in that 30 to 50 window, you're probably spending the maximum amount of money because you're putting your kids into school, you're buying a house, you're making investments, and you're doing all this stuff. So this is the most critical period where most of us are probably right now in our lives, where we want to build something where we leave behind enough for our kids, because nobody's going to remember us after like 300 years or 200 years or even like 50 years or whatever, right? But where we have built a mechanism where we are able to support at least till a certain point for ourselves, not worry about things. Now, my suggestion is to come to a point where you invest money into places which can give you returns enough for you to keep living how you're living today. So say you're making $100,000 collectively, or say 100,000 dirhams, because we're in Dubai, so 100,000 dirhams a month collectively. You're like, wow, we're able to travel with this money. We're able to invest a little bit of it. We're able to save a little bit of it. We're able to live our lifestyle, our house, rent, car, everything's done. We're collectively okay here. I'm not saying great. I'm saying okay here. I'm using that number just so that the multipliers can work a lot easier. It can be different for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get, for you to make that money every month, what you're okay with right now? Because now you apply a simple math to it, annual increment, say 10% every year. You're putting that on and on. You put a compounding investment return, average interest rate, say 7% year on year, whatever you're putting in. Add those interests with 17% bump, net every year. Put that money on 100,000 a year, or say making $1 million dirhams collectively a year. That means 170 on top of it every year. 170 compounding goes up your ladder. You can calculate how much you're going to make at 50 if you keep doing the same thing today. Right now, you can do it. And what you can do with your expenses, you can do the math. It's lovely. It's not too tough. You can even code a calculator for this, or ask ChatGPT to do it for you, and they'll do it. But what you need to do is try and understand the principal amount here, and that is your monthly pay. How does that come without you doing anything every month? What can you do to get that?
Definition of that.
Previously, it used to be a number, very clear, measurable number.
How much was it? What did you put the number as?
It was a big number.
$6?
It was much bigger than what I thought would bring me financial freedom. And then I went from having a number to now having a number, right, which is quantifiable, it's measurable, and having a feeling around it. A feeling of, oh, you know what? I want to go to Denver next week. I'm going to go to Denver next week, right? Having that freedom to be able to do what you want, when you want to do it, to me feels like financial freedom. Like that to me means like I'm financially free. I don't have to be at a desk or setting an alarm. So now it's a number and a feeling. It's these two.
It's almost like an experience, right? Like that's when I hear answers that's just a number, it seems very empty. But what you're describing is more of an experience of living.
Yeah, I feel like it balances it, right? Because the number can change. Let's face it, the mind is fickle, right? The number today is not going to be the number next week. It may not be the number a year from now. Right? And that's the battleground, right? But when you wrap a feeling around it, now you have, something that can be quantified, right? And something that can be felt. So it's basically this connection between the mind and the heart, and now it's much deeper. So you may not have the number, but you can feel financially free, even if you're not there yet. So I don't have to wait for a number to hit a number to feel it. I feel it right now. I feel it at this moment.
I think I'm financially free. I don't think about going broke. I care more about the solution. And that's one of the lessons I learned from my father as well. I think there was a time in my life, around the time in college where I had failed, and I started a coffee shop. That was one thing I started.
Man of mystery.
Yeah. And it was with a friend. A friend had come to me and say, "Hey, let's start a coffee shop." And so I ended up giving him the money that I had made from other ventures. And he started and then every couple of months, he's like, I need more money. And I started giving the guy more money. We had no agreement. It was just a gentleman's agreement. And then basically, to make a long story short, the coffee shop was gone. And the guy, had taken the money, and he was a close friend, and it was very complicated, very awkward. But I had basically leveraged other things to get the money, and that leverage had caused, a rupture financially. And so I ran away, and I thought that, I can solve my problems in other ways, that were destructive to me. And my father sensed this. I don't know how. I think fathers and mothers have sixth sense. Mm-hmm. And he called me and he's like, hey, come, let's talk. And he's like, what's going on with you? I said, well, no, nothing. I'm fine. No, what's going on with you? And I told him, the story, and he's like, he kind of paused, and he's like, why didn't you come to me? I'm like, well, I can do this on my own. He's like, no, dude, we're here for you. You have people that are here for you. That was the first thing. Second thing, he said, listen, I'm as greedy as the next guy. That's what my dad says. I'm as greedy as the next guy. But I try so hard to not think about the profit of any deal that we're making in business. I try not to think of that. I block that out as much as I can. I only think about delivering the best product to my customer. That's the only thing I think about. And he's like, Saleh, you do that and the money will come. And that's been my philosophy ever since that moment. And I still there was a lot of credit card debt. That's how I paid for a lot of this stuff. But I remember we made a sheet, and I still have the sheet, and we wrote down all the credit card debt, and I folded it up and I put it in my wallet, and it's still like in one of my wallets. I always go back to it whenever I need to. So I make that a point, not to think of the money. Once I start thinking about the money, then I sound off. Where my goal is money, people pick up on that.
Yeah.
And they don't want to deal with people that are just looking to make a quick buck. 15 years ago, I've been married 20 years. 15 years ago, when I was with my wife, I think we were driving somewhere, and I looked at her and I said, and it wasn't a great time financially as well. I said to her, you know what? I'm happy, like right now. Like if I died right now, I'd die happy. And she always tells me this. She's like, I have this thing against people who have a lot of money, because I think that I'm scared that if I have a lot of money, then I'm not going to enjoy it and things are going to go bad. Blah, 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 blah. So I try not to think about it, but it starts to come on its own. And you start to realize that happiness and money aren't necessarily linked. Money gives you comfort, but it doesn't give you happiness. When I think about the happiest moments in my day or in my life, it's moments when I'm playing like Monopoly with my kids. It's moments when, like, I love off-roading. When I'm off-roading, and I'm doing that, that's a great moment. This moment right now, talking to you and chilling and talking about my life and your life, I'm happy right now. It has nothing to do with money. So I don't really think about financial freedom, honestly.
Really?